From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, call for state policing resonates as PDP governors maintain it is a solution to the nation's worsening security situation and challenges. Fresh attacks on Plateau communities leave at least 4 people killed as police special squad launch the rescue operation for travelers kidnapped in Ondo State by gunmen. And the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau joins the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board to probe the fatal helicopter crash involving Access Holdings Group CEO Herbert Wigwe, his wife and son, and the former Nigeria Exchange Group PLC, Bimbo Ukubanjo.
On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund forecasts Nigeria's foreign reserve to fall to $24 billion in 2024 from $33 billion.
On sports news tonight, UEFA Champions League returns on Tuesday night with round of 16 action after a 2-month break.
From Abuja, African Union identifies lack of support for small-scale farmers, insecurity, poor funding, and poor linkages from farm to market as part of challenges limiting access to food for Africans.
And in international news from London, the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says Israeli strikes have killed 67 people in the overcrowded city of Rafah.
We begin with a concern being expressed by governors on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, over the security situation in Nigeria. And they have restated their position on state policing, maintaining that it is a solution to what they say is a worsening situation. The chairman of the Governors Forum, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, made their position known after a meeting of the governors in Abuja today. The position of the governors are also condemning what they term the free fall of the Naira and its attendant consequences. They're now asking the federal government's economic team to firm up appropriate solutions to this challenge.
Governors under the People's Democratic Party arrive in the Oyo State Governors Lodge for the first meeting of the forum for the year. The meeting is holding behind closed doors to discuss the current economic challenges and security situation in the country, as well as developments within the party. After several hours of the meeting, the governors assert their position on the state of the economy and security.
We have been partnering even as opposition to make sure that we don't bring any distraction. But certainly the monetary policies and the economic policies rest here. And we can see that we know the majority of Nigerians live in the states. And so we are doing so much across party lines on a bipartisan basis within the Nigerian Government Forum, within the National Economic Council, to make sure that we cushion the impact of this, some of these policies that have far-reaching consequences on our people. We reiterate our call with the state police with appropriate safeguards to avoid any abuse or overreach by any tier of government.
The governors also discussed developments within the party.
Further, the forum passed a vote of confidence in the Iliad Amagun-led National Working Committee NWC of the party and urged it to put in motion the necessary machinery for convening meetings of the appropriate organs of the party from caucus to the National Executive Committee NEC as soon as possible. We are 100% behind Edo, and you can see there is no rancor, there is no division, and we are very much behind the National Working Committee and the state chapter of the party, and indeed the governor, to make sure that we go together in unison, in unity, to produce a successor for our most respected, the eldest governor in the Governors Forum.
The governors pledged to work together to build a strong opposition, while pledging to take the necessary steps to address the impact of the high cost of living in the country.
The worries expressed by the PDP governors on security came after fresh attacks in Plateau State, this time in Miango district of Bassa local government area, where 4 people were killed. According to the National Publicity Secretary of Irigwe Development Association, Davidson Malisson, the assailants launched an attack on Keza community in the early hours of today, where 3 persons were killed and 1 severely injured with machete cuts. Early on Saturday, another person was killed in another attack in Tegbe village, and before that, an ambush happened on Friday with a burning of a car and 1 person sustaining injuries. Recent attacks in Plateau communities have left over 200 people dead, the worst being the killing of 200 in Bokos and Barkinladi last December. This was followed earlier this year by attacks in Salek village in the Mangu local government area of the state, where over 30 persons were killed. Let's head to Ondo State now, where the anti-kidnapping squad of the police command in the state has been dispatched to rescue passengers who were kidnapped on the boundary between Akunu Akoko in Akoko North local government area of the state and Ayere in Ijumo local government area of Kogi State. Gunmen were reported to have attacked the 18-seater commercial bus, abducting the passengers on Friday before other travelers later arrived at the scene to find the bus abandoned by the roadside. Moments later, some security operatives, including the police, the security outfit, Amotekun, soldiers, as well as local hunters, arrived at the scene to see the bus and a little girl left behind, and the driver who was discovered dead. Police spokesperson in the state, Fumilayo Odunlami of Misoya, also explained in a statement that the police team is currently combing the entire area in an attempt to rescue the victims and apprehend the kidnappers. And in other security matters, the chairman of the House of Representatives Special Committee on Oil Theft, Honorable Alhassan Ado-Doguwa, says the parliament will push legislation to enhance the involvement of private security outfits in protecting the country's oil and gas assets. He stated this when he led a delegation of the National Assembly for an on-the-spot assessment of vessels arrested by a private security outfit in collaboration with security agencies in Delta State. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni reports.
Collaborations between private security firms and the military in the protection of the nation's assets have led to arrests of vessels and crews engaged in oil thefts. For the second time in 2024, they intercept another vessel conveying stolen crude and arrest some individuals involved. The committees on the visit include that of Environment, Host Communities, Niger Delta, Petroleum Resources Upstream, Petroleum Resources Midstream, Gas Resources, and Petroleum Resources Training Fund. The lawmakers express worry about the seemingly unending spate of crude oil thefts. They also prefer solutions.
Continued crises like this, where you have issues of theft, vandalization of pipelines, and a lot of other crises around the oil-producing states, is of serious concern to the National Assembly, and particularly to this committee, which has a special mandate around 4 years, one full tenure mandate to oversee these unfortunate happenings on the shores of our states, oil-producing states. We are all out to see to the increased production of our oil and gas industry in the country. One of the major challenges we are facing is about increased production.
After arresting, also ensure that they hand over equipments and men to the military, who are those who have the official rights and constitutional provision to bring whoever that is a suspect to justice.
And help them with the challenges so that they can do more, because actually they have done very well in terms of safeguarding our oil and other infrastructures within the marine areas.
The lawmakers, being members of the various relevant committees, have agreed to work together to ensure a quick work is done on legislation to fully incorporate private security firms in securing the nation's assets. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Away from security matters, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, says it is cooperating with the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, in investigation of the helicopter crash that claimed the lives of the group CEO of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, his wife and his son, as well as the former chairman of the Exchange Group, PLC, Bimbo Ogunbanjo. In a statement, the Director, Public Affairs and Consumer Protection at NSIB, Mrs. Bimbo Olawumi Oladeji, explains that the Director General of the NSIB, Captain Alex Bade, has established contact with the NTSB. This, she says, is in accordance with the Convention of the International Civil Aviation Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation, which grants the state special interest in an accident involving its citizens. The convention grants Nigeria, through the NSIB, the right to visit the scene of the accident, have access to relevant information by the state conducting the investigation, and receive a copy of the final report. The NSIB pledges full updates on Nigerians on the investigation as information becomes available. Meanwhile, tributes continue to pour in for Mr. Herbert Wigwe, with a body of banks, chiefs, executive officers in Nigeria expressing their heartfelt condolences to the Wigwe family, the board, the management, and the staff of Access Holdings PLC. A statement by the chairman of the body, Ms. Dr. Ebenezer Onyago, reads in part, Dr. Wigwe was a visionary, charismatic, and transformational leader who contributed significantly to the development of the banking industry in Nigeria and the economy at large. They described him as a staunch advocate for positive change whose impact traversed generational, gender, and geographical boundaries. For the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, the death of Herbert Wigwe is a great shock to all. In the tribute, the president and chairman of the council, Dr. Ken Opara, says, Wigwe was a visionary leader, a trailblazer, a corporate titan, a man with a Midas touch, and one of the greatest minds from Africa whose legacies and footprint spans the entire globe. It extols his contribution to the growth and the development of the institute, the banking industry, and the Nigerian economy at large, and prays for his gentle soul to rest in peace. Definitely have more on that, and our thoughts and prayers remain with his family. Meanwhile, the arraignment of the federal lawmaker representing Bayelsa Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator Benson Kumbowe, has been stalled before an FCT High Court in Abuja due to ill health. Senator Kumbowe was slated to be arraigned on a 3-count charge bordering on alleged certificate forgery of the National Youth Service Corps, among other charges. At the day's proceedings, his counsel, Gordy Uche, told the court that he was medically indisposed and unfit to attend this arraignment and prayed the court to grant an adjournment. The counsel to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice opposed the medical report on the ground that it was a calculated attempt by the defendant not to appear in court to take his plea. The court subsequently adjourned the case to March the 26th to the 28th for arraignment of the trial. And staying with legal matters, Justice George Onwebuzie of the Federal High Court sitting in Apo, Abuja, has declined to hear the preliminary objection of the former Minister of Power, Olu Agoloye, challenging the power of the EFCC to prosecute him on the alleged $6 billion Mambila hydroelectric power station fraud. The judge held that the application was not ripe for hearing and subsequently adjourned the matter till February the 26th, 2024. And the preliminary objection is seeking an order prohibiting the EFCC from further prosecuting the instant charge against him. He also argues that the alleged offenses in the charge were not his activities as a public officer, where he was alleged to have awarded the contract without budgetary provision, approval, and cash backing. Mr. Agoloye was also arraigned on a 7-count charge bordering on fraudulent award of contract and official corruption in January 2024. In part 2, after the break, Federal Capital Territory High Court Abuja adjourns till tomorrow the trial of former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele over alleged $6.2 million fraud. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Call for state policing resonates as PDP governors maintain it is the solution to the nation's worsening security situation, challenges the federal government's economic management team to stop free fall of the naira. Fresh attacks on Plateau communities leave at least 4 people dead as police special squad launch rescue operation for travelers kidnapped in Ondo State by gunmen. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau joins the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board to probe the fatal helicopter crash involving Access Holdings Group CEO Herbert Wigwe, his wife and son, and former Nigeria Exchange Group PLC Bimbo Okubanjo. And the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says that Israeli strikes killed 67 people in the overcrowded city of Rafah. Let's head to the judiciary, where Justice Hamza Mwazu of the Federal High Court in the Capital Territory, Abuja, has adjourned till tomorrow the trial of the former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Mr. Emefiele is standing trial on an amended 20-count charge bordering on criminal conspiracy, conferring undue advantage and breach of trust, among other things, against him by the EFCC. He is accused of impersonating the secretary to the government of the Federation to illegally obtain a sum of $6.2 million. During proceedings today, the deputy director in charge of branch operations at the CBN, Mr. Onyeka Ogbu, told the court that he was aware of a $6.2 million payment request for international election observers. Mr. Ogbu, who is the prosecution witness 1, explained that the request was made on January the 8th, 2023. He also notes that he reviewed the documents and subsequently gave approval for disbursement, which was then executed. All documents were identified, but certain pages were missing, which led to the prosecution counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, requesting a temporary hold for the issue of the missing pages to be addressed. The counsel to Mr. Emefiele, Matthew Bukar, however, objected, saying that the prosecution is bound by the evidence presented in the documents. He said adjournment is better to allow the prosecution to get all the certified true copies and also for the witness to be cross-examined. The case was later adjourned till tomorrow, February the 13th, 2024. As the nation mourns the Access Group CEO Herbert Wigwe in Ishokbo, his hometown in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State, they have now declared 7 days of mourning in honor of their illustrious son. The declaration was made by the Nyenwe Eli of Ishokbo, His Royal Majesty Eze Blessing Ahiazuwon Wago, on Sunday. Starting on Wednesday, the 7 days of mourning will witness closure of all businesses on the first and the last day, and half-day operations on the other days. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama reports.
This is Omweke in Ishokbo local government area of Rivers State, the community where the former chief executive officer of Access Holding, Herbert Wigwe, hailed from. Here, most businesses are closed and residents are dressed in black, reflecting the mood of the moment.
I am very, very sad. If you can see my heart, you see that my heart is bleeding for the loss of our dearly brother, caring and honest brother. The way he died, we are not happy. The eye of the community, the hope of many, just go like that. The husband of the widows, father of the fatherless, brother of the brotherless, we are not happy at all.
A community leader who spoke with us described Herbert Wigwe as a great philanthropist and irreplaceable figure with the people already in mourning. just as he confirmed the declaration of 7 days of mourning by the Yenwele of Isokpo, supported by the Council of Chiefs and stakeholders.
Well, since Saturday evening, we had a sudden news that our brother, our mentor, died in plane crash over there, US. We are so sad. That death is 1 in 1 billion. The man was too good.
The chairman of Ikwere local government area and the member representing Ikwere constituency in the River State House of Assembly also paid tribute to Mr. Wigwe, promising to uphold his legacies.
It's just clear that whatever you cannot change, you have to live with it. For us as Ikwere local government people, and as Ikwere people, we are very clear that death came very late. Dr. Albert Wigwe has already planted the seed in us. We are the fearless generation who stand by his legacies.
He's a man that has developed men in Ikwere, local government, River State, and Nigeria. It is a loss for Ikwere people, River State, and Nigeria.
Our attempt to access Wigwe University was restricted, but we learned from an insider that the institution was set to commence operations in March before the tragic event that claimed the life of its founder.
All of our children, now this school they will go.
The visionary banker may have departed, but his indelible footprints in the world of banking and philanthropy will continue to be a source of inspiration to many. Deborah Balama, Channels Television News.
Very sad indeed. Our thoughts and prayers are still with families of all those who lost their lives in that incident. We now head over to Abuja studios where Markwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by to give us more on the news at 10. Hello, Markwe.
Hello, Anne. Well, we're starting off with a different type of matter here. Food security is at the heart of what we're discussing, and a lack of support for small-scale farmers, insecurity, poor funding, and poor linkages from farm to market have been identified as the growing gap limiting access to food for Africans. The African Union Chairman on Food Systems, Mr. Ibrahim Mayaki, highlighted the challenges at a forum on food security at the State House. Mr. Mayaki is seeking more commitment from government at all levels to change the narrative. Our correspondent, Sarah Achumugo, reports.
How to implement policies that will accelerate food availability and affordability within the African continent is the crux of this meeting, as convened by the African Union Development Agency, the new Partnership for Africa's Development. The event is coming after some protests over the high cost of living in the country. However, speakers at this forum highlight what should form the interest of government to boost agriculture and reduce hunger.
Together, we need to ensure that food is available and affordable for all by supporting the smallholder farmers, project through large-scale investment on forest landscape and ecosystem restoration, as well as the provision of farm inputs.
Africa is estimated to have a food import bill of $50 million annually, with 250 million of its population experiencing hunger. Experts believe smallholder farmers hold the key to addressing the gap. However, these farmers have their challenges.
Our first revolution calls for a fundamental change in our approach to food consumption. It emphasizes championing sustainable diets that prioritize nutrition while minimizing food waste.
The present administration has set an ambitious target of lifting 150 million Nigerians out of poverty. The plan is to assist farmers with the tools and funds to produce more food. The governor of Nasarawa State also explains efforts by his administration to empower farmers in his state.
Under our administration, we have not only introduced new policies, but we have bolstered existing institutional framework to attract major investors, such as Olam Rice, Nigeria, where they have their 120,000 metric tons capacity mill, and they are doubling it this year.
This two-day conference is expected to develop actionable plans that will accelerate food production across the continent.
Meanwhile, experts committed to food security and nutritional essence are in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to help devise a sustainable all-year-round food production that enhances the environment. The experts, drawn from the European Union and 6 African countries, are making a case for food production in urban centers against the overdependence on rural settlement for food production. In health matters now, nurses in the Federal Capital Territory have protested the new verification certification guidelines released by the National Midwifery Council of Nigeria. The nurses took their protest to the headquarters of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives in Abuja to express their displeasure over what they describe as a violation of their rights and an attempt to stifle them from seeking better job opportunities. Addressing the protesters, the registrar of the council, Dr. Farouk Abubakar, assured the nurses that their complaints will be addressed as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the staff of the Public Complaints Commission have embarked on an industrial action over the non-payment of their salaries and arrears. The workers, who are members of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, had earlier in the day staged a peaceful protest at the headquarters of the Commission to drive home their demand. According to the chapter president of the association at the Public Complaints Commission, Mrs. Margaret Ebeko, the wage issue has persisted for over 3 years. Still ahead on the news at 10, International Monetary Fund forecasts Nigeria's foreign reserves to fall to $24 billion in 2024 from $33 billion. That's some business news. To join us again. Welcome back. The First Lady, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, is urging Nigerians to exercise patience despite the high cost of living in the country. Mrs. Tinubu, who was in Kano to commission a multi-purpose hall named after her at the Faculty of Law of a private university in the state, affirmed that the administration of President Bola Tinubu has the best interests of the country in mind. Our correspondent Sadiq Ilyasu reports.
Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, landed at Malam Aminu Kano International Airport amidst a crowd of locals. She was received by Governor Abba Yusuf, his wife, in the company of spouses of governors. The wife of the president is in Kano State to inaugurate a multipurpose hall named after her at the Faculty of Law of a private university in the state.
In the visionary pursuit of Professor,
she used the opportunity to make an appeal to Nigerians concerning her husband's administration.
These are hard, but when I saw all those children lined up the street, I see that removal of fuel subsidy is for their future. We can come and do government as usual, business as usual, but I would tell you that certain things happen that would change the trajectory of your thinking. I want to work for you, and I believe that Mr. President has the same drive and zeal to want to turn this nation around.
The governors of Kano and Benue states were also in attendance, and they commended the First Lady for prioritizing education in her activities.
I. I want to assure our First Lady
that Kano is not your second home, Kano is your first home. We have your history. We know when you studied in secondary school in Kano. We know you know all the hooks and corners of Kano, so do not feel that you are second citizen, you are first citizen of Kano State.
And I'm pleased I followed her to see what she was going to do so that I can transform, I can take it and transform Benue State with the great gesture of our presence and activity.
And the benefits of our children and generations of come. This building named Senator Tinubu School of Law was commissioned by Her Excellency Senator Tinubu.
After inaugurating the edifice, the First Lady was conducted round the facility as she announced a 50 million naira endowment fund for the best graduating students in law at the university. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
And that's all from our studios in Abuja. It's back now to you, Anne.
Thank you very much, Malwe. The UK Prime Minister of Business and Trade, Kemi Badenoch, says that the United Kingdom is committed to bridging the trade deficit in Nigeria through the enhanced trade partnership, which will be signed with her Nigerian counterpart in Abuja on Tuesday. She revealed this at the reception in her honor in Lagos. The ETP, she says, will also help build investor confidence in Nigeria. During the same event, the Nigerian Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzokanite, said when she signed, the ETP will make Nigeria a more favorable partner to the United Kingdom.
The ETP is actually an enhanced trade and investment partnership between the UK and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it's the first of its kind. And I think we should give ourselves a warm applause for that. And we know what having a trade agreement or investment agreement means. It means that more money will flow into Nigeria. Everybody say yeah to that. And hopefully we'll see more trade happen between the two countries. We have been doing a lot of trade in the past, but now it's about to go on nitro. So now we're going to make UK, and the UK is going to make us a more favored partner in trading and investment.
This is one of the things that the Enhanced Trade and Investment Partnership will be signing tomorrow, is hoping to help deal with. The UK sees Nigeria as a country of enormous potential. We have a long-standing history, and one of the best ways that Nigeria can reduce that deficit is by increasing its exports. So looking at what we can do in order to help Nigeria export more. This is very good, especially when there are foreign exchange difficulties, amongst other things. So one of the things that I've been discussing today is the difficulties operating businesses in Nigeria. There are global economic challenges which every country is facing. Almost every country on the planet is dealing with very high inflation, or inflation that's much higher than what they're used to. And these are the sorts of things which will discourage investment. But there will be country-specific issues as well. And tomorrow, apart from signing the ETIP with Minister the Minister for Trade, I'll also be meeting other government ministers to see how we can work together to help create that good business environment for British business, which will probably benefit other countries as well.
Let's delve into the world of business now, and Will Ibong is standing by to give us details about the latest forecast on Nigeria's foreign reserves.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne, and welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, says Nigeria's foreign reserves is expected to drop to a record low of $24 billion in 2024, which currently stands at $33.12 billion. The The concerning forecast contained in the IMF's latest country report for Nigeria signals potential challenges for Africa's largest economy. At the same time, the IMF report shows that reserves may increase to $38 billion by 2028 as portfolio inflows are forecast to pick up again. Meanwhile, the international lender anticipates a challenging period through 2024 to 2025 for Nigeria's financial account, worsened by an absence of new Eurobond issuances, significant repayments of existing funds, and Eurobond payments totaling $3.5 billion and continued portfolio outflows. Still speaking of foreign exchange, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has once again hiked the exchange rate for computing customs duties at the nation's seaports, marking the second increase in 3 days and the fourth adjustment by the CBN this year. The official trade portal of the Nigeria Customs Service reveals a significant adjustment, with the exchange rates climbing from about 1,417 naira 63 kobo against the dollar to 1,444 naira 56 kobo to a dollar Monday, February the 12th, amid the ongoing challenges faced by businesses. Last week, the CBN governor, Mr. Olayemi Kadoso, when he appeared before the Senate Joint Committees on Finance, Banking and Other Financial Institutions, had called on Nigerians to moderate the demand for dollars, consumption and usage of foreign goods. Meanwhile, the naira fell against the dollar today to 1,534 naira, the weakest decline ever against the dollar at the official market, NAFEM. Now, expectations are high after President Bola Tinubu signed the amended Electricity Act into law. With the focus of the law on development of host communities of generating companies, the chairman of West Power and Gas, Mr. George Etomi, says that it does not address the core issues which could affect electricity supply in the country. Mr. Etomi was a guest on our Business Morning program earlier today.
The government wants a harmonious environment for GENCOs to do their business and for host communities to also feel that these businesses have a positive impact on their lives. It could come through the form of jobs, it could come through the form of actual development of the area. And so many of the things, like I said, were left in the remit of corporate social responsibility is now mandated by law to happen. So to that extent, yes, it will make an impact. But as to the wider issue of the impact on electricity flow, those are still the familiar issues of shortage of gas, how you deal with that, how you deal with the debt issue to gas suppliers, how you ensure that gas which is produced in Nigeria is no longer priced in dollars, so that the practicality of making it available for GENCOs is actually achieved. Those are the bottlenecks. And once you unlock that huge gas potential to power, I can tell you we'll be well on the way to ensure that the electricity industry is stable.
And speaking of stability, this domestic equities market opens the week on a positive note, sustaining bullish sentiments recorded on Friday. Amy John Mekwa tells us more.
Hello, Will. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Will, we begin this week's trading reports with a positive sentiment, and the market gained in the green, 0.18% at 102,042.31 for the market cap, and we see the value at 55.836 trillion naira after it gained 101 billion naira on today, Monday's trading numbers at the close of it. And so we look at the banking counter, which is our favorite, the most liquid, but it was down today, down there almost 1%. This is a deep fall for the figures. Not all of them, but most of them. GTCO lost 15 kobo. UBA did lose also, as well as Accessco. Accessco, of course, we know it's a mourning period for Accessco and the business community. They also lost today. Consumer, however, we see up 0.9%. 0.60%. Boa Foods did this, and Flour Mills International Breweries also contributed. Oil and gas moves slowly but surely, up 0.15%. Eternal Oil closed, gaining about 18 kobo at the close of trade. And so the market mover for today actually is Boa Foods. They opened with 295 naira 90 kobo and closed at 299 naira, and that's about more than 1% gain. So there you have it. Boa Foods led the market to the positive today, to the glory of the bull.
Thank you, Ini. Now let's check in on the closing performance for other major equities around the world. And that's a wrap on business news. Now it's back to you, Anne.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Will. The Palestinian Authority's foreign ministry has condemned what it called an Israeli massacre in Rafah, while the European Union is extremely concerned about the situation. And this is coming after Palestinian health officials said at least 67 people were killed in Rafah. And that's after Israel carried out intense aerial bombardment in the southern Gaza city. According to officials, Palestinians are bracing for a major offensive on the densely crowded urban area. Hey, Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says Israeli strikes have killed 67 people in the overcrowded city of Rafah. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled to Rafah at the southern edge of the Strip after months of fighting in Gaza. Some 1.5 million people are sheltering in the city. Many are scared, complaining there is nowhere left safe to go. The UK Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron has urged Israel to stop and think seriously before taking further action in the city. Meanwhile, Israel says 2 Israeli-Argentinian hostages have been rescued in a raid in Rafah amid the heavy Israeli airstrikes on the southern Gazan city. The Israeli military said the 2 men were in good medical condition. The pair were named as Fernando Simon Marmon, aged 60, and Luis Har, 70, from kibbutz near Yitzkank. The acting director of Sheba Hospital said the pair were in good health.
I'm very happy to announce that this night 2 released hostages landed here at Sheba Medical Center, Israel's largest hospital. They were received in our ER, and initial examination were conducted by our ER staff, and they are in a stable condition, and we intend to continue and follow them up for the coming days until we'll be for sure clear of their medical situation.
I'm surrounded by doctors and nurses, and most importantly, they are surrounded by the family now. And the family that they haven't seen for the 128 days since the 7th of October massacre. Luckily for us as a family, they were saved tonight. But I must say that the job is not done. We are happy today, but it's not we didn't win. It's just another step towards bringing all the other 134 hostages back home.
8 people have been arrested in Spain after 2 police officers were killed in a boat chase with suspected drug traffickers. Miguel Angel Gomez Gonzalez and David Perez Caracedo died when a speedboat rammed the police's smaller vessel. The incident happened in the southern port of Barbate near Cadiz. The city's mayor contacted the civil guard asking for assistance after 6 so-called narco boats were spotted by residents sheltering from a storm in the city's port. The deadly boat chase occurred later that evening. The men's marathon world record holder, Kenya's Kelvin Kiptum, has died in a road accident in his home country. The 24-year-old was killed alongside his coach in a car on a road in western Kenya on Sunday. Kiptum bettered Kipchoge's marathon record, clocking the 26.2 miles in 2 hours and 35 seconds in Chicago last October. On social media, Kipchoge said, "I am deeply saddened by the passing of the marathon world record holder and rising star Kelvin Kiptum, an athlete who had a whole life ahead of him to achieve incredible greatness. I offer my deepest condolences to his young family. May God comfort you during this trying time." President Joe Biden's campaign has joined TikTok despite the app being banned on most U.S. government devices over security concerns.
Chiefs or Niners?
Two great quarterbacks, hard to decide. But if I didn't say I was for the Eagles, then I'd be sleeping alone.
His campaign launched its account with the username @BidenHQ during the Super Bowl on Sunday. The president signed legislation in 2022 blocking most federal government devices from using TikTok. Aides say his account will not be run by the president himself, but by his campaign team.
Trump or Biden?
Are you kidding? Biden.
And Rio de Janeiro's colourful and energetic carnival has returned for 2024, with floats and performances celebrating the Amazon rainforest and the indigenous communities of Brazil. Carnival is among the world's largest parties. Millions of people in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro are getting into the carnival spirit. The carnival is world famous and sees colourful parades and partygoers lining the streets of Rio's Copacabana and Ipanema beaches. The festival runs for several days and will culminate in a parade on Saturday, the 17th of February. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, 2023 Africa Cup of Nations silver medalists, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who have since departed Abidjan, are being expected at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja any moment from now. The team is expected to be received by top officials of the Nigerian Football Federation, as well as the Ministry of Sports Development, and football fans who are currently awaiting the arrival of the team. And the return of the UEFA Champions League comes at the perfect time for the reigning champions, Manchester City, with Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne's comebacks from injury, making the holders look more formidable. Now, Pep Guardiola's men head to FC Copenhagen for the first leg of their last 16 tie on Tuesday night on the back of 10 consecutive wins in all competitions. A run that began while Haaland and De Bruyne were still sidelined by injury has only gained momentum since they made their return recently. Still in the Champions League, RB Leipzig coach Marco Rose has shut down suggestions his side would be outsiders when they host Real Madrid in the Champions League on Tuesday night, saying his side were not afraid. Leipzig are struggling for form ahead of the visits of La Liga holders Madrid, having won just one of 5 games since Christmas to slide to 5th in the Bundesliga. Away from the Champions League, Serie A will remain a 20-team division after a league assembly squashed an attempt by Italy's biggest clubs to cut the number of participants to 18 earlier today. Italian media reports that Inter Milan, Juventus, AC Milan and Roma were the only 4 clubs to vote in favor of the proposal, with other 16 all voting against it. And that's Sports News Tonight. I am Kelly Egiga. It's back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. PDP governors today added their voice again to the call for the establishment of state police, as they maintained that it is the solution to the nation's worsening security situation. The governors also challenged the federal government's economic management team to stop the free fall of the naira. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has joined the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board to probe the fatal helicopter crash involving Access Holdings Group CEO Herbert Wigwe, his wife and son, and former Nigeria Exchange Group PLC boss Bimbo Ogunbanjo. And the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says that Israeli airstrikes have killed 67 people in the overcrowded city of Rafah. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a great night.
From a shy, young boy into like this self-confident young man, and it happened right in front of our eyes. So it was beautiful to witness that. See that change.
Strong in your center, boys. Shouldn't be any mistakes. You think this is hard? Wait until the summer show.
He's been referred to the NHS to a specialist doctor.
Madu is one of the handful of Nigerian contents getting on the Disney platform, including the eagerly awaited animation titled Iwaju, which is jointly produced by the giant studio Disney and African media Kugali. It marks a new era for Nigerian and African content on the global stage.
Sometimes I close my eyes and imagine myself in the big stage.
Perfect platform.